NFL is officially back. Started last night. Cowboys at Eagles, and there was some drama going down in the game, including a little interaction with Dak and some saliva. And then, of course, we got to talk about the Chiefs-Chargers playing tonight down in Brazil. Chiefs fans and Chargers fans are both upset for different reasons about this game. We'll get into that and then take a look at the rest of the Week 1 slate. And then the NFL Hope-O-Meter. Different levels of hope for each franchise, and it's pretty sad to see which franchises are at the bottom of this. So let's start off with opening game of the NFL season, Cowboys and the Eagles. Everyone was picking the Eagles in this game, rightfully so. Right? Reigning Super Bowl champ at home. Dallas Cowboys traded away their best defensive player this past week. I will say, though, I felt like the Cowboys kind of showed up. The Cowboys overperformed in my mind. I mean, this final score, 24-20, the Cowboys actually had a decent chance to go down and win it if it weren't for Droppy Dropperton, CeeDee Lamb. We'll talk about him in a second. That was just kind of brutal. And then we do have to talk about the incident, okay, that happened at the start of the game. But just give me your initial thoughts, your emotions, your feelings that the NFL's back. And this game.
It's like everybody forgot or just assumed that the Dallas Cowboys were Micah Parsons, and that was the only guy that made that ship run at all. It's like I thought what they came out and did was actually quite impressive. And Dak specifically, how he played. I know his QB rating and everything like that wasn't incredible. To your point, Droppy Dropperson over here, CeeDee Lamb probably hurt that a little bit, which as a former quarterback really grinds my gears. But at the same time, I think the Dallas Cowboys really showed something. Like they're a great team. They got a solid roster with or without Micah. Dude, so it was really impressive to see, honestly.
Yeah, take a look at some of this. These are just Dak. Like Dak's stat line does not tell the story at all. He was diming people up. And here are some of the most egregious drops. Oh, CeeDee, that one was just – and they're lucky that didn't get picked off. I will say, I mean, not to harp too much on CeeDee, we do have to look at all these. This one, right in his hands. Whoops. This one was on the final drive, and this one is, the most forgivable because this was like the most difficult catch, although Dak still did kind of dime it up.
Yeah.
And I will say CeeDee was – what's the term? He was taking accountability for this. He was like, yeah, that was horrible. I've got to play way better than this. But I will say I was pretty surprised by the Cowboys kind of in general.
Yeah, that's not to say CeeDee didn't have a great game. He definitely did. The ball was thrown to him a lot throughout the game. And I bet you George Pickens was about to lose his mind. He was about to let it loose. But he knows that a lot of money's on the line based off of his performance. So he's probably keeping it lidded up right now. So like CeeDee did great outside of these couple drops, but honestly, that's what happens, man. Every single play, every single pass, every single run, whatever it is so consequential to the game. And ultimately that was a difference maker here. If he caught one or two more of those, completely different story, completely different game, completely different outcome.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty shocked to go on the road to Philly with all of that noise. Think about all the noises going on in Dallas this past week. It's been, as Jerry loves to call it, it's been a soap opera times 10 this past week. And so having all that outside noise and then going on the road and like putting this up and being in a position to actually have a chance to beat the reigning Super Bowl champs, kind of impressive. All right. There's another perspective you could take on this. So like solid showing by the Cowboys. You could also say impressive for the Eagles to win after losing their best defensive player before there was even a snap. Okay. So you could also take that perspective. We got to talk about this. Okay. Spitgate. I don't know what we're calling it. Do we have a term for this yet? Jalen Carter and Dak Prescott. Okay. Jalen Carter, obviously out of Georgia. You need to listen to NFL scouts talk about Jalen Carter. He was a pretty big behavioral and character red flag coming out of college. Obviously was fantastic. I think it was second team All-Pro last year in his second year. And this is what happened at the start of the game. See right here, he spits on Dak Prescott right before the first play of the game or the first snap. And then he goes on to get ejected right there. So doesn't even get to play. Before we look at the other end, okay? So we've got that. However, there's another angle that came out a few hours later. So everyone roasting Jalen Carter on Twitter, rightfully so.
Another angle.
There's another angle. Okay.
There's a second spitter.
There is a second spitter. And we got to analyze this. Here's this. Okay. This is a Pruder film, if you guys get that reference. Dak spitting himself. Okay. So talk to me. What's your guys' opinion on this?
Oh, yeah. Looked really bad coming from Carter. I had a take coming into this, and it just fell apart based off of that second angle. Now, I don't know what to believe.
Hold
The
on.
end zone camera really rounded things out here.
Hold on. Let me give you a little more context, because that second angle that you saw of Dak also spitting first, and Dak did actually address this in the press conference afterward, and you could see it. There's actually, from the actual TV angle, we don't have it. Dak's not spitting on Jalen Carter. He's spitting on the ground in that general direction. And Dak said in his press conference, like, yeah, I mean, I spit a bunch during the game, and I just guess I had to spit right there. I didn't want to spit on my offensive linemen, so I spit over them. It didn't hit Jalen Carter. And then Jalen Carter goes and spits literally on Dak's chest. So could you say Dak was egging him on a little bit? Sure. But Dak didn't spit on the guy. And then Jalen Carter comes and spits on him. So Scott, your take might hold up. Let's hear your take.
Okay, well, first off, yeah, the depth perception there is a little askew, because like Carter, it looks like they're much closer than they probably are. It's not as though the huddle is literally at the ball during that. So Dak, there's probably a number of yards, at least 5 to 7 in between them. And I doubt he had the spitting intensity to get it that distance. So Jalen obviously took personally, because then spitting on a chest is completely different than spitting in the general direction of a man. Like,
yes,
kind of in the same ballpark, but one is far more egregious than the other. Look, we saw a lot of taunting calls. We saw a lot of flags and laundry fly out of the refs' pockets and everything during this game. I was going to say, hey, could this be part of the script writing of the NFL being like, hey, Jalen, we need you to do this early on so that we can validate us throwing these flags to make sure that it doesn't escalate beyond, because that's the most egregious thing you can do to another man, is spit on them or in their face or anything like that.
Conspiracy corner coming in. Also, spitting on somebody, I think, is literally assault. Isn't that an assault?
As it should be.
Yeah.
That is an absolute act of violence. That's great.
Yeah.
Who in the replay booth was looking at the camera angles of this incident to make the call of throwing Jalen out of this game? Did this go up to the replay booth?
The referee, I wish I had the
right
wider angle. The referee was literally right over his shoulder and saw it. It was so stupid of him. It was like,
so did the water boy.
Yeah, and the water boy was just like, so referee and water boy right there, firsthand, and he just goes, and Dak just goes like, is it? And then the ref just throws the flag. So I wish I had that angle, but yeah, that was just absolutely silly. Jalen Carter, one of the best defensive, one of the top 3, 4, 5 interior defensive linemen, maybe even higher than that in the entire league.
Yeah.
And so you could argue then also kudos to the Eagles for being able to win after that adversity. Also, they had that one guy, I can't remember who, tear his ACL on the first play. So like they had some adversity right there.
That sucks.
Yeah, brutal. Can we talk about this though? Because this is interesting. This take, Jalen Hurts. Let's go from a kind of an aggressive, not well-behaved Jalen to a really well-behaved, respectful Jalen in Jalen Hurts. Okay. But there's this take. Jalen Hurts is what Justin Fields looks like with a super team. Okay. And then also real people are out there calling Jalen Hurts a top 5 quarterback. And those for just listening, we're looking at his passing completion chart. He has one ball down the field, like one completion down the field. Well, the rest is, I won't call it all dink and dunk, but a good amount of dink and dunk. So what do you make of this? Like Jalen Hurts, is he a product? This is another argument we hear, like with a Brock Purdy. Like, is he simply a product of a great talent around him?
I think being able to run your offense and effectively and efficiently hit these short routes and just run the scheme is part of of being a great quarterback. And part of being selfless, like, okay, the scheme's working. I don't have to take these big shots to boost my stats. I can hit these and we'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Being able to win while throwing balls like this is more impressive than like throwing those 20-yard outs or anything beyond the 15-yard mark or anything like that. I think this is more impressive to have the capability and the cohesion on the offensive side to move the ball down the field while doing these things. I think that's the most psychologically debilitating thing on the defensive side of the ball, is when an offense is doing little dink and dunks like this and just keeps taking chunks, and you can't stop them and you just stay on the field. also, I think the most effective part, look, top 5 quarterback, way too premature. We're in week 1, chill. But at the same time, I think Jalen brings something to the table. His ability to scramble, run the ball.
Yes.
I mean, he had more carries than Saquon Barkley in that game. He was more effective. He had those 2 touchdowns. Like, the guy was the total package, and he was definitely the thorn in the side of the defense the entire night. Had them second guessing everything they were doing and still beating them by not having to throw the ball down the field 40 yards plus. Like that's the sign of a great quarterback, in my opinion.
You know what the Cowboys needed to kind of stop all of Jalen Hurts' really great scrambles? Like a really athletic, mobile defensive lineman, outside backer. Like if they just had a guy like that, like they could have stopped all of Jalen Hurts' rushes. Maybe they can draft one in the next couple of years. That's a joke for everybody. That's a Michael Parsons joke. Okay?
How wild is that, though? It's like, that's such low-hanging fruit for people to say. Yeah, he could have been a little bit more of a disruptor, but I don't get the sense that he would have been able to stop the effective scramble nature of Jalen Hurts.
I'm with you. I think that's like a super, like, I mean, we love to talk about, Lamar's running ability, but like Jalen Hurts is like, he was so effective.
Yeah.
So effective and just just devastating times for a defense. And also going back to that dink and dunk, and it's like, that is devastating for a defense when you're just like, man, they're just getting these 4-yard chunks on these passes, like these outs, and these just like quick. And it's like, oh, it's devastating. Then you're on the field for, 17 plays or whatever it is as a defense. So Jalen Hurts, very impressive, despite, the stats and all of the naysayers. Can we give a little defensive love, though? Okay, enough about all these offensive players. All right. I would like to give some love and respect to a linebacker, Zack Baun. Okay. All right. Can you see my mouse? This is where Zack Baun is. Okay?
Yeah.
I love this guy.
Zack Baun, awesome. Came out at he was a backup in New Orleans, comes to Philadelphia last year, and then he just killer year and just signed like a $50 million deal.
Gritty origin story.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Oops, I did something crazy. Can you guys still see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me play this. Let's see where he is. This hustle. Zack Baun coming from the backside.
Going underneath, too.
Going underneath. Fastest play speed that he's run in his career. Coming chasing down a running back from the backside like that, from behind. And I will say, this play was a complete game changer, because what happened a couple plays later after this? Cowboys fumbled and the Eagles picked it up. So he saved the touchdown, and then it flipped the possession where the Cowboys should have scored. So just a little respect for the linebacker position. I mean, that's just incredible.
Mike, how bad does this feel as a running back? Yeah, you just got a 35, 40-yard run here, but you just got hawked by a linebacker.
I wouldn't know how that feels, okay? I just wouldn't know. Too fast. I know. This has happened to me a couple times, okay? Some great DBs that run 24-mile-an-hour catapults, hawk you down. It is the most embarrassing thing ever. But this is really impressive. Chase down from the backside. I would never do something like this if I was a defensive player. If I saw somebody like, oh, they're just going to score, I'll just do the next possession.
You know what, Mike? I think that you could play defense for Alabama football this year with that attitude. I think that's the perfect attitude. Let's get Kalen DeBoer on the phone. He wants a defense there with that attitude.
Yeah, this is impressive.
Very impressive. And I love the Zack Baun story. And that also, like, Zack Baun, we go on a little linebacker tangent. I mean, Howie Roseman found just a diamond in the rough with him. This dude was a special teams contributor in New Orleans. I think he came out of Wisconsin like a couple of years ago. People were like, what? We signed this dude? The Eagles signed him to like a 1-year, $3 million deal last year, and people were upset about it. And then just first team All-Pro, and then now just a staple on the defense. I love that.
That's what happens when you can make legitimate analysis without getting caught up in the hype and the shiny object system, like thinking that coaches tend to get caught up.
Howie Roseman, the GM of the Eagles, is maybe the most important person in the NFL right now. I mean, that's a bold claim, but I mean, he's putting together a roster where Nick Sirianni is winning Super Bowls. Okay.
Wow. Fellow Italian, you're going at him. I was going to say, I think Sirianni is the one who, yes, Howie may have been the one to see, hey, there's potential here. But Sirianni is probably, you got to give him and Fangio, you got to give him a way more credit for being able to help him flourish. Like he's like Roseman found the seed. They're the ones who have put it in the soil and fostered it to get it to a point in which he can do things like this. And he feels like he has the confidence and the drive and everything like that. But going back to this, like the origin story of Zack Baun is awesome. And we talked about it with Baker Mayfield. There's something about dudes, Brock Purdy as well, and even Lamar to a certain extent with the disrespect he's been getting when we were talking about the QB rankings and everything like that. There's something about dudes who are able to keep that chip on their shoulder and not lose it once they get into silk sheets. And they always have it. So the guys who are doubted, the way they bring it to the field, like Zach being a dude right here who just won't let up. He's going to continue functioning in that psychological framework as though he's always going to be doubted. He was always, he was never picked first or anything like that. And that's the driver. That's his fuel. And that's what makes him hawk down dudes who are much faster, most likely on a 40 straight sprint. And he's able to continue to compete. And that's what I love about the game of football is like dudes can continue to have that mentality and not lose it.
And those 100%. Are the kinds of guys, if you, as an organization and as a staff, if those are the kind of guys that you're elevating and propping up and like giving the opportunity that they've earned and putting them in a leadership position, that's how you set an incredible culture. When you 100%. Reward guys like that and show like, this is the example that we want, it doesn't matter, where you were drafted or anything like that. That's how you get a great culture.
And they have, and they have a great culture. You know who else is kind of a guy like that? I mean, to a lesser extent, maybe, is actually Jalen Hurts. Benched in the national championship game for Tua, ended up having a transfer, no complaints, just fought his way back, and now he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. So I respect the Philadelphia Eagles culture. And the Nick Sirianni stuff, those are mostly jokes. Part of me still doesn't get it. Part of me still doesn't get it.
Weird body. Weird looking.
But it's maybe we just can't see it. I don't know. He's doing it. I mean, they're great. All right, let's talk about the next game that's coming up here. Let's fly on down from Philadelphia to Brazil. We've got the Chargers and the Chiefs playing tonight in Brazil. Little AFC West matchup. Okay. Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. This is the second time the NFL's playing in Brazil. Both teams are mad about something in Brazil, or maybe not the teams, but the fans of both teams are mad. All right, let's start off here. The Chiefs fans are upset about their practice field that they have compared to the Chargers. So here's the Chargers practice field. Nice, looks solid down there in Brazil. Okay, sure, fine. That looks decent facility right there. And here's the Chiefs playing on some just backyard, dead grass park. Like this is where the Kansas City Chiefs are practicing. So they're upset about this, Chiefs fans are. And then Chargers fans are upset about this. Last year when they did the game, it was Packers-Eagles. Eagles were the home team, right? And you had Eagles in both end zones painted. This year, the Chargers are the home team. But look at this. Each team gets their own end zone, as to say it's a neutral site game, which really it is. So Chargers fans are upset about this. What do you guys make of these fans or the fan bases being upset about these two things?
I mean,
who cares? Oh my gosh, who cares? The field thing is, that's legitimate. I mean, that field wasn't that bad. It was just not as well watered, but it's not horrible.
I mean, I'll tell you what. Hold on. I'll tell you what. Other countries don't know how to prepare grass for American football. And so it's a serious issue. It's a serious issue.
That is true.
Let's talk about the game. Chargers, Chiefs. All right. Two great quarterbacks, depending on who you ask. Obviously, Mahomes and then Justin Herbert. This is the situation for the Chargers against the Chiefs the last 3 seasons. They've lost all 6 of their games. However, 5 of them were one-score games. Do we think that this season, that AFC West could be kind of interesting this season, depending on how the Chargers are here. Second year with Jim Harbaugh. And then depending on how the Denver Broncos are also. So that whole division could be potentially up for grabs. But what do we think about this? Do we think the Chargers can finally beat the Chiefs?
Yeah, I think in week 1, they have a chance. This is the season. We've been harping on it. Everybody else has been harping on it that I think Herbert needs to make that next step in his career and finally earn the respect and
Yes.
admiration that he's been given so far. This is the season for him to really take that step. And I think, again, as every team is getting used to the season and the process and everything like that, I think they're most vulnerable. The Chiefs are most vulnerable this week. So I think they can get the win for sure. I also think that with Harbaugh at the helm, year 2, we've seen how he's been able to develop culture and get programs back on track over his career. I don't think that's going to be any different here with the Chargers. I think, especially because he's Keenan Allen coming back from the Bears, getting back into the locker room, 13-year vet, adding a dude like that on the offensive side, and then having in the stables of running backs being like Najee Harris, granted he might not be playing or starting today, and then Hampton, the rookie running back out of North Carolina. I think they have the makings, along with Joe Alt, shout out Notre Dame, on the offensive line. I think they have the makings to be incredibly effective offensively. The big question mark is defense. Can they stop the Chiefs enough to give the offensive chance to put points on the board?
I mean, I wonder. I mean, let's be real. It's a little noisy with the Chiefs right now with all the Travis Kelce off the field stuff. Granted, it's always a little noisy there, but it's just kind of heightened. So there's just a lot of fanfare around them. It's interesting, man, because you look Jim Harbaugh, when he has turned programs around, he's always had like a lot of season 2, second year is when things really start to click. So I don't remember what the actual record was for Michigan, but it was like he took over and then they had an improvement just as the Chargers did last year. And then I think it was year 2 when they really started to take off. I also love their first round draft picks the last 2 years. It's Joe Alt, offensive lineman, and then that Omarion Hampton, the running back. So just like building the run game, getting that able to go, and also obviously pass protection there for Justin Herbert. It's hard, dude. I have no idea who I would take in this.
I gotta say, week 1, I think the Chargers will come out and surprise.
You are going against 3 years of data right there. Last 6.
Okay. I know. I still, for some reason in my gut, I think the Chargers are going to surprise people, and I think Herbert, for as nonchalant, chill of a dude as he is, I think he's definitely heard the noise. And I think talk about having a chip on your shoulder. There are ways in which you can kind of show it. Baker's a little more front facing in that, a little more animated in his approach.
They're animated.
And then Herbert, I think, is more reserved, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't take it any more seriously. And I think he's coming out with a vengeance here this year, along with Harbaugh. Because I get the feeling like Harbaugh's his hype man and has been ever since he stepped into the league. While I have the utmost respect for Mahomes, I still think it's going to get to him here in week 1, and then they may get the ship righted here come week 2 and beyond.
Yeah, we've seen that with the Chiefs and being like, well, the Chiefs are not it this year, and then they're back in the Super Bowl. Oh, they're back in the Super Bowl. All right, let's take it. So I think that whole AFC West, man, that division this year is so interesting. Even the Raiders, like,
dude,
Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, Ashton Genty, Chip Kelly, OC, like. That's one of the more interesting divisions in football this year, in my opinion. All right, let's take a look at the full slate. Obviously, we had the Cowboys, Eagles last night. We got the Chiefs, Chargers tonight. Gosh, there are some great games coming up.
I know.
Ravens, Bills, Bears, Vikings, Lions, Packer. Like this is a great slate. Which one are you most excited for?
There are 2 that are popping off the page here for me. It's the Steelers Jets, obviously because Aaron Rodgers returning to the Jets or facing him for the first time since that debacle. Things were not clicking. So I want to see how Aaron comes out and plays against his old team, and seeing if he has some emotion in it too. The other one that's really interesting to me is the the Bears versus the Vikings. O'Connell down or up there in Minnesota against the new Ben Johnson, 2 masterminds, quarterback gurus, if you will, and seeing how with young QBs, who's going to be the better mentor, and who's going to be the one who takes that step forward. So I'm really curious to see, 1, just to see how Caleb and Ben Johnson kind of jive in real gameplay, and then 2, how JJ McCarthy actually does.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Going back to the Jets-Steelers game, I mean, you said, of course, it's a different coaching staff, but Aaron Rodgers did not have a nice interaction with Aaron Glenn.
Yeah.
Right? Flew back to New York on his own dime to meet with Aaron Glenn, only for Aaron Glenn to basically tell him, yeah, we're going in a different direction. And Aaron Rodgers was all upset. He's like, couldn't have told me that on a phone call. And he said it was like pretty like a tense meeting there. So
Yeah.
new coaching staff, but still tension. So that's interesting. Bengals, Browns, Scott?
Only because, yeah, I just want to see Joey Flacco throw a few tuds. Hey, the Bengals defense can't say it's improved much, so we got a chance. We just have to have our defense stop Joe Burrow in the same way that I was talking about. How many stops can the Chargers defense get with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? It's the same situation here with the Browns and the Bengals. How many times can you stop Joe Burrow? How many times can you keep him off the board? McPherson as well. Don't want to get his leg warm, because even if they get it to a certain degree, he's going to get points on the board. So I think the Browns may have a shot, strictly because it's week 1 and the Bengals defense is complete ass. So
as they tend to be,
yes,
as they tend to be. Also, the other NFC North matchup, Lions and Packers. Aiden Hutchinson's back from injury, and then Micah Parsons, 2 of the best pass rushers in the game, playing in that one. And then of course, Bills, Ravens, two of our favorite quarterbacks, two of the best teams in the league. That's it. You know what else is interesting? Commanders and Giants. Yeah. I personally think the Commanders are going to take a step back. I think that Cinderella story, that was beautiful, but they overperformed, I think, last year. And the Giants, I don't know, man. They're it's a whole new vibe there. It's kind of a whole new vibe. So I think that could be kind of interesting. What do you think?
Yeah, I think all of this hinges on how Russell Wilson performs. You could get the old school Russ for the first 6 weeks, like we were talking about, and the Steelers experience during last year, or you can get the wheels falling off Russ and Rust all over. So it's really a big question mark. Granted, they have the best QB room in all of the NFL, as we've talked about before. So they got some horses in the stable. You got the energy guy in Jameis Winston, the vibe guy in Jameis Winston, who could come in, get you a good solid 2-3 drives, then throw 2-3 picks potentially. So he can juice you when you need it. But it all depends on how Russell kind of performs here in the next few weeks. So that's the biggest question mark for me there. I also think, talking about the Green Bay Packers and the Lions,
yeah,
I love the culture that Dan Campbell has brought to the table in Detroit. I love everything about it. I don't think we're talking enough about the fact that he just lost both of his pillars in coordinators, in Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. I don't know what we're actually going to get here with the Lions.
I am terrified because I really admire what they've done there. And I think, man, losing 2 coordinators, 2 of the best coordinators in the NFL, both going and grabbing head coaching jobs. And also like Ben Johnson pulling another couple position coaches as well. And the thing that was also so impressive about that culture is the coaching staff that he had put together in Detroit. And so losing those pieces, man, I'm worried about that. And also that division is just like, who knows? Green Bay's for sure going to be at least pretty good. Like the Vikings were good last year. Depends on how JJ McCarthy is this year. And then the Bears grab back. Like they could be really taking a step forward. So, I mean, a lot of good stuff for week 1. That's like an awesome slate. I'm so thrilled. Let's look at this. This is interesting. The Athletic, they do a lot of these good polls. These are interesting. This is the Hopo meter for fan bases who are the most hopeful, who feel the most optimistic or pessimistic about their franchises. We can buzz through some. Do you guys want to start at the most optimistic or the most pessimistic? Do you want to start at the bottom?
Well, we know who the pessimistic ones are. Let's start at the optimism.
Okay, yeah, we know who the pessimistic ones are. Broncos, most optimistic. Fair, right there. They might be a little too optimistic. I feel like only 1% pessimistic, but they've got their quarterback. They've got their coach. Those are the 2 most important pieces. Love that. So these all make sense up here. Vikings, seeing them up like in the top tier here. I mean, I would feel there's a big question mark with JJ McCarthy. He's essentially a rookie.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't look, I think he's going to be a great NFL player. I don't
think that?
understand.
Like, we don't know that, dude. He barely even threw at Michigan.
True. Okay. Let me rephrase. I think he's going to have a solid NFL career, whether that be starter or backup. I think he'll remain in the NFL for some time. And I think everybody's just getting so hopeful because they saw what O'Connell did with a backup sort of quarterback in Sam last year. So like, I think that's where the hope is coming from, is like, oh, he did it once, he could do it again. Well, JJ is a completely different individual and completely different type of player. So to expect that lightning would strike twice is, yes, very, very, very hopeful. But if anybody can do it, like O'Connell has shown he has the chops, the coaching chops to be able to lead guys.
I mean, I also put go ahead, Mike.
I like the hope on the Bucks. I have a lot of hope for the Bucks. I think that's a fair placement.
I overlooked that.
Also, how are they tracking?
They're polling fan bases.
Focus
They're
group?
polling fan bases. Yeah, they do a lot of these.
How, like on Twitter? It's a Twitter poll.
And it's like there are some sort of
email. It's a mail-in.
They're knocking on people's doors.
It's a mail-in hope ballot.
They just see random people in the street wearing a Eagles or a Lions jersey and say, "Do you feel happy or sad about your team?"
What's the size of this pool?
It is statistically significant. All right, let's move into the middle here. All right. 49ers kind of low. Bengals kind of low. Panthers kind of high, in my opinion. Raiders, I understand that because you got a big change up here, new coach, new OC, new quarterback who's had success in Geno. Jaguars, what? Stop that. You do not. That should be inverse. That should be 74% pessimism. I mean, are you guys, am I harsh on that? That's too high.
No. I think you're right on the Cardinals and Jaguars. Guys, come on. You got to reel it in there. I think one of the more surprising ones, while you think the Panthers are a little too optimistic or their fans are a little too optimistic, I actually think this is probably appropriate based on how they finished up the season last year and how Bryce Young has improved.
Fair.
I think there's actually something there, and they've been dismissed. I mean, I don't even remember the last time I heard the name the Panthers outside of the ticker pop up on a TV or even my phone for that matter. So I think they're a team that has been totally dismissed, and they're going to surprise a lot of guys, especially Bryce and how he improved. And I think really tumultuous first couple weeks and first season for him, but they're definitely a franchise that's probably on the rise. I'm surprised. Granted, it's Ohioans, Buckeyes, everything like that. I'm surprised to see such negativity with the Bengals, especially if you're a fan of them. Like, maybe you have been just tortured similar to the Browns, but not to the same degree to where you are this pessimistic. But with a guy like Joe Burrow, like,
yeah, but they've had Joe Burrow. They had Joe Burrow and these wide receivers last year, and they missed the playoffs. Like, what's changed? What they signed them to long-term deals? Like, I don't know. Is their defense going to magically get way better?
No,
I don't know.
No. As I was saying earlier, their defense is Swiss cheese and absolute garbage. But I'm surprised that the fan base of the Bengals isn't more optimistic, unless they saw last year and saw the lack of change on the defensive side of the ball and said, okay, this is going to be par for the course.
Patriots.
I feel the same thing about the Raiders. I feel like the Raiders should have a little bit more hope.
Oh,
like you're talking about Chip Kelly.
Yeah, so do I.
Seems a little low.
So do I. The Raiders, there's something there. Ashton Genty, something there. All right, let's look at the most abysmal. Cowboys Cowboys. I know. Cowboys shouldn't be that low, man.
No,
shouldn't be that low. This is the only team with like a legitimate franchise quarterback. All right, Steelers, but what are you going to get 1 or 2 years out of Aaron Rodgers? Like, I guess Dolphins have a franchised quarterback if he doesn't get another concussion. Like, Cowboys, I feel like he should be in the middle there. Colts, yeah. When Daniel Jones is your starter, you should have almost no optimism right here. Saints, same thing. Anything? What jumps out to you on this one?
What jumps out, is definitely the Cowboys. They just like I said, I think everybody got wrapped up in the fact that they thought Micah was the Cowboys and he was the engine that made them all move in the right direction. I don't get the sense. You talk about last night in the game. Like, they showed that they are a formidable team and they have a roster to get wins, and a few catches here and there by CeeDee Lamb, completely different outcome, completely different game. So I think the Cowboys are coming off of just they're reeling off of the Micah news, but they're not taking a step back because there's just been so much about the Cowboys this offseason, plus the documentary of Jerry and him being landman and all that kind of stuff. So I think they're just, this is just a recency bias for them. I ultimately think that it's much higher in reality, and I think they'll change tune here in the next 5-6 weeks.
Yeah.
The other one that's most surprising is the fact that the Jets have a 42%
Yeah. Optimism.
rate.
What, yeah.
What? Why? What are you basing that off of?
Justin Fields. Yeah. Nice, man. Great. I don't know. Maybe Aaron Glenn's going to really get that culture right. Who knows? I think the Steelers is perfect. 51-49. It's like their record every year. 9-8. Just mediocrity. Yeah, we're kind of optimistic, kind of pessimistic. Right in the middle. Kind of perfect for the Steelers right there. Browns, you guys, that's appropriate. What's your personal optimism level, Scott, as a Browns fan?
It's always in the red. So it's best to assume the worst, be elated and happy for when you're proven wrong. That's essentially how I'm approaching it. Granted, I do have hope in the fact that Flacco's back in the quarterback room. He's the leader of that offense and probably team at this point in time. The last time he was under center at the Browns, he got us to the playoffs with a very talk about Swiss cheese roster, injuries, everything like that. So him and Stefanski, I think, have a good rapport to where I think they'll surprise some people on the offensive side of the board. I just hate the fact that we let Nick Chubb go. I know he's been an injured dude. Mikey, you could probably speak to this better, but like running back with the grit and tenacity and still the athletic prowess that he brings to the table, letting a guy like that go in your locker room, I think is going to be a huge detriment. So I'm sad about that, but I still think Stefanski could get things right.
Okay.
I agree with that, Scott. I think when you have a back like that, you just backfill and you let him, mentor the next guy. You don't just get rid of him and like throw that all away. There's value in that and letting him, be a mentor as he fades out.
Culture guy. Big culture guy. All right, there we have it. Last thing, people are freaking out, up in arms about this, okay? NFL RedZone has announced that they're now going to have commercials, all right? Scott Hansen went on Pat McAfee. We don't need to play this whole thing, but basically he announces that they are going to be – it's no longer going to be 7 hours of commercial-free football starts now. It's going to be 7 hours of RedZone football starts now. People are freaking out about this, and it turns out it's going to be like 4 15-second commercials over the course of 7 hours, which is very small. It's a drop in the bucket. However, I am a guy that always argues a slippery slope. That's what it starts off. Next year, it's going to be bigger. However, do you guys watch RedZone like consistently?
I pop in and out for sure, but with little kids, tough.
You're gonna say, here's not. If you watch RedZone, you're actually not a real football fan because you just want that quick hit TikTok brain dopamine. Ooh, touchdown! Ooh, touchdown! You're not getting any of the story of the games. Like you're not going through the drives and the punts and the turnovers. Like you're just waiting for the touchdown. So I would argue, if you're upset by this, it's a revealing indicator that you're not actually a real football fan. Ooh. What do you think of that argument?
Okay, well, here RedZone is like the gateway drug for people who don't have a team. When you have a team, you can sit through and watch. Oh, I love the Cowboys. I'm with the highs and lows. I'm going to watch this 3-hour game, no matter how boring this game is. But when you are somebody who is just introduced, or you're getting on the ramp of introduction to football, the NFL, RedZone is the perfect thing. You go, oh, this sport is so exciting. Look at all these teams. Look at all these new plays and athletes, these athletic feats. I think it's a great thing to lead more people in.
Gateway drug of football. Okay, Scott, what do you think?
Good point, Mikey. Yeah, it's the top funnel content that they're trying to capture all of those new Swifties that are coming into NFL fandom. And it's just like, hey, here's what's so exciting about this sport and why Taylor loves it. You should love it too. So I can see there being some sort of fusion here. And if the NFL is doing this right, they're going to have her in one of those 4 15-second commercials, her and Travis or something like that, to really bring people over. And I think that's actually a great idea. Top funnel content, bring them down the pipeline.
Wow. You know what? Okay, you guys, there's something there. There's something there. But I would just say us as self-respecting football players, we should sit through and watch it look, like you should watch the Jaguars and the Colts. You sit and you watch that whole game through. Otherwise, you're not a real football fan. You sit and it's miserable. And you're watching Daniel Jones going 7 for 19 and Travis Hunter's a dud. Yeah. What do you think of that? Like they're starting him on offense and have him as a backup corner on defense. What do you think about that? Who are they playing? I got to look again.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I feel like that is the reverse of how they should
Yeah,
operate.
well, I have no faith in Liam Cohen, their head coach. So it's not surprising that they did the wrong thing.
No, you know what I think this is? You know what I think this is? I think it's and I don't mean this in any negative way toward Travis, but I think this is a great way to approach it from a psychological perspective. Because if you're a corner and you're having an off day and you're getting torched and you're getting just sought out by another quarterback and another offense, and you're just getting burned left and right, the psychological effects to confidence are massive. And you don't necessarily want to start that off with such a highly touted, highly picked guy. Obviously, you want to see him get used to gameplay and everything like that. So you're going to want to get him burned on the defensive side of the ball. But I think a great way to introduce him to this is get him out there in gameplay on the offense, get the ball in his hands, get that confidence level up. So then when he does step on the other side of the ball and play in defense, it's sky high and he's not going to have any doubts or any concerns. So that's my take as a start. Why him on offense?
Actually, I actually think that you're onto something there, because you can actually really control. You can throw him a couple little screens, little bubbles, make sure he gets the ball, and even say he drops something. Like on offense, you have the control and the ability to all right, let's go right back to him, get his confidence up. Yeah. But if like a corner gets toasted, how do you get his confidence back up? That's tough. The offense is going to come at you again and keep decreasing your confidence. So actually, there's something there. Okay, maybe Liam Cohen is not the guy I thought he was. Don't get me started. Don't try and make me defend Liam Cohen over here, Scott. I don't know what you're trying to do. I don't like his vibe. There we have it. Football is back. A lot of great games this weekend, and we got
Thank God we made it, guys.
We made it.
It's like the end of Prohibition.
Exactly. Very similar, Mike. Very similar.
They had bootleggers funneling us European football. And now it's over.
We've been having to watch the European football. UFL, ELF. Back to the real thing. It's legal. We're watching ball. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.